Hello, this is Eric from Monkey Craft. Glad to see you're back. This is the third video in my video series where I am creating my 3D print business in my, as I call it, my print shack. Okay? When we left off in the last video, we were getting ready to cut and fit the wood for the heavy-duty storage racks. So let's start right there. Alright guys, so I've gone ahead and I've cut and fitted the 3/4 inch plywood on all the shelves except for one. The plywood is going to give me a much more rigid, stable surface over the wire mesh that you can see down on the bottom. I removed all those wire meshes. They just are not adequate for mounting the printers on. You don't even want the wood on top of them. So I've gone with this plywood on all the shelves except for that lower shelf where I'm going to be using some plastic storage bins. So they'll be fine for that. So now that I got the wood in and fitted, what's next? Well, it's time for the dehumidifier. Let's get the dehumidifier out of the box and I'll tell you about the one that I'm going to be using and why I'm going to be using this one. Alright, so I've got the dehumidifier out of the box and it's a Moistwell model ME7. Okay. Now I chose this model. It's more of a commercial model versus a normal residential unit because one, it won't take up floor space. I'm actually going to have it on the top rack up there. You'll see when I put it up there. And that does two things. Like I said, it frees up floor space because I have a very confined shop here. And two, it gets the humidifier up where the humid air is. Humid air rises. Think about clouds. Clouds with a lot of moisture in them, they rise. So by having it up high, I'm sucking in the moist humid air and putting out the dried air. So on this side is where the dehumidified air comes out. That's your dream tube connection. I put a hose on there and I'll run this outside so it'll have a continuous drain outside. I won't have to drain anything. Tank to keep up with. This side, moist air goes in. Then it actually has a connection down here for hooking up a remote display if you wanted to. So why do I need one at all? As I've just showed you earlier in a previous video, right now it's 68 degrees in here with 63% humidity. I'd like to get it down at least in the mid 30s. Okay, that's to keep the humidity down for the filaments so the filaments aren't absorbing more moisture. Okay, let's see if I can get it one-handed here, if I can get it plugged in or not. Show you what the screen looks like real quick. Alright, so if one button turns it on, right now it's 78 degrees, 62% humidity it says, and I can adjust it to whatever humidity I want. When the fan comes on, pulling the humidity through the air, pulling the air through the dehumidifier. Sorry. And it's going to start to dehumidify the whole print shack. Let me get it up mounted and up top, and I'll take a couple pictures up there, share that with you as well. Alright, so I've gone ahead, placed the dehumidifier up on the top shelf, ran the power cord down. and I realized that my drain tube that came with it was going to come up a little short. So I've ordered a longer hose. But for tonight, I thought I'd do a little experiment. I ran the drain hose down and I put it in this bucket. So now I'm going to run the unit overnight and we'll do a little test. See how much water it pulls out overnight. So let's turn it on. I got it at 35. Let's see. It says it'll do 30. There we go. Let's run it overnight and see what happens. Next, I've got all these boxes of filament that came in. Thinking that's all going to be stored up on these upper racks. So I think I'll take a minute and get it sort of laid out here. Come back in a minute and show you how that looks. See you in a minute, guys. Alright, so I've unpacked my initial load of filament, enough to get me started on the designs that I've created in Fusion 360. So you can see most of these are just one or two of a particular color. Alright, well, after I get done, finish the prototyping, I haven't done prototyping yet because I never printed anything yet. But once I get these are all the colors I think I'm going to need for the designs and the work that I'm going to be doing. So once I get the things prototyped, start getting ready to do some production, build up some inventory, well then these numbers will increase. But my thinking is, what I'll do for these colors that I'm pretty sure I'm going to need, once I've validated these are the colors that I'm going to need, I'll rip off the label off the box there and affix it down below on the rack. I know I'm messing up the focus, sorry guys. But you get the idea. Rip off a piece of the face, put it to the rack, and then I'll know if there's an empty spot or it's getting low, oh, I need some more of that matte green PLA or what have you, right? Sort of my inventory control. Now you guys will probably tell me that I'm just being naive, that it's going to take a lot more filament than that, and you're probably right, but you got to start somewhere, right? And by the way, you guys don't like anything that I'm doing, you think that I'm doing it all wrong, let me know. I'll be interested to hear it. That's part of this whole process, is to learn, right? Hopefully you guys will learn from some of the things that I'm doing, and you can flame me if you want down below. That's alright. So I've had this humidifier plugged in. What's it say right now? I think it's saying 52. So it's gone from like 60, 61 in about 20 minutes, already down to 52. And I saw some water dripping down the drain hose a minute ago. Yeah, I could see some still going down there, right? Yeah. So it's pulling all that moisture out of the air. So the next step, I'm going to be working on the dehydrator. Let me get it out of the box and I'll show you which model that I chose and why I chose that model. Let me get it out of the box. Alright, so this is the food dehydrator that I may use as my filament dryer. This is what it looks like out of the box. Pretty straightforward. Got a control panel up top where you can turn it on and set the time, set the temperature up and down. Pretty straightforward. Once we get running, I'll put a video up showing you how I've done some and weighing them and showing you the difference. after they've been dried, the undried to dried filament. Comes with all these shelves and racks. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. But basically it's pretty simple. You just open it up, take your filament, slide it inside. Go ahead, set your time and temperature according to what the manufacturer says for drying. As you know, on the box itself it'll say dry for so long at a certain temperature. And you could load this whole thing up, close it, set it, and walk away. When you get back, it'll all be set. Now, of course, guess it goes without saying, you wouldn't put it in with in the packaging. I guess I should have said that, right? You're going to take your packaging off and you're going to put it inside, right? Another thing I should point out, that in this case this is PLA, but if you were drying, let's say, PETG, which is going to dry at a higher temperature, or maybe nylon or some other TPU, things like that, you got to make sure that your spools that you're using are capable to the temperature. In other words, this is probably PLA spool, and if you put your spools out of PLA and then put them in here at a higher temperature, like for a PETG, yeah, well, it's going to warp your spools, it's going to tear your spools up. So, just a point. But I'll probably do a whole video, or I will do a whole video eventually, showing the drying process. Right now I'm just sort of showing you the setup and what I'm doing. Again, all these products that I'm showing you in the video will be linked down below. Of course, they're associate links, so if you were to click on them, I get a couple bucks thrown my way for leading you to them, but it does not increase the cost to you, and it helps me to keep the channel up, make more videos. So let me talk to you about where I'm going to install this. I really got a couple choices. I don't know if it makes really a difference right now. I know there's printers going to go here, and I know what printer is going to start going up there. So it's either here or here for now, and I'm going to choose over there. So let me get it over there, get that installed. Pretty easy, it's just moving it over there. The next thing I'm going to do, get these power supplies, UPSs, uninterruptible power. Got to get one of those set up. And I got one more construction task to do. I need to run the power to my table. It'll have 6 outlets to power devices. So if I'm demonstrating something or running a laptop or have a printer plugged in, anything like that, I'll have power at my bench for all that stuff. So those 2 things got to get done, and then I'll be just about it. At that point, it'll be time to unbox a printer. Now, like I said earlier, I'm starting with 2. I got a Century Carbon, and I got the Bamboo Labs H2D. You guys tell me, which one do you want to see first? Do you want to see the carbon setup? Or you want to see the H2D setup? Let me know in the comments below. So I ran the dehumidifier for just over a day, and you can see how full. It's pulled out like 2 gallons of water already. Wow. Very pleased with this unit. Alright. I can see the dehumidifier down to, what's it saying today? Looks like 37. Perfect. I've replaced that temporary line with a new line. You can see it's a clear vinyl line. It runs all the way down and out. So all the moisture that's been collected is running down and out. So that's done. Alright, quick update on the table. I went ahead and got all 6 of the outlets installed in each of the 6 legs of the work table. So that's done. So now I can power anything from the table that I need. One thing left to set up before we get into the printers is to get these uninterruptible power supplies from CyberPro set up and ready to go. So let's get them out of the box. Take a look. Alright guys, let's talk power supplies for a minute. What I have here is one by CyberPro. It's available on Amazon. I got a link down below. Now, I want to talk about why I think they're important to my business and why you should consider them. Okay? An uninterruptible power supply provides backup power to your electronic devices. In this case, we're talking 3D printers, right? So when the power goes out or it fluctuates, it will kick in and it'll keep the printers running seamlessly. Now it's not going to keep them running for a couple hours for you to finish your whole print or something, but it will allow you enough time to come out and gracefully pause the prints that you have in process, right? And then when the power comes back on, it will, you can go ahead and restart your printer, and hopefully you won't lose that 20-hour print that's been going on, right? You'll be able to save it. It also provides protection against like lightning strikes and spikes and stuff like that that would come down the line and damage the equipment as well. Okay? So how about we get this one out of the box and we'll take a look at it. All right. What do we got? Got a power cord, USB cord. I believe these are the stands. Yeah, these are the stands for getting the unit up. As you'll see, I chose a rack-mounted model. They can either be mounted in like a computer rack for like computer stations and things like that, servers, or it can be mounted standing up. I think the next thing is the power cord. Get that out of there. These guys are heavy. Rightfully so, they have a big battery inside, right? Push that off. So what are we looking at here? Pretty basic. You've got your, let me plug her in, see what the screen looks like. Good thing I added those power outlets on the workbench. Makes this easy. Got her plugged in. Now, simple, just power it on. Guess I should read the instructions. That's a select. That's about it, okay? One power to power it on. Now this display is rotatable. Not sure why, I guess I got to read the book on that. But this display will rotate 90 degrees, so that when I mount it on the shelf, you'll be able to see it. Essentially, there's not too much to it. It's basically a big battery. And then it's got your various outlets. The two down here, these are 20 amp outlets. And then there's 6 more rated for 15. So I'll run the big printers I'm going to have here off the 20 amp side, and smaller printers can be run off of the 15 amp side, right? There's also a whole bunch of other stuff that it can do and connect to the internet directly and all this stuff. I'm not going to get into all that right now, but let me get the manual open, see what I need to do to put these feet on. We'll get it set up. I'm going to put it up here so that it can power the printer that's here and the one that's here. Alright guys, give me a minute. I'll get these feet on. You don't need to see all that, I'm sure. And I'll be right back with you. Alright guys, let me first apologize for having the humidifier running when I was videotaping that last session. I'm sure it was distracting at best, right? So sorry for that. Again, I'm new to all this, right? But anyway, back to the unreplicable power supply. I got it up, mounted in the feet, got it powered on. I got the display rotated now so I can see it when it's up here. And again, I have it up here because I'm going to run a power supply to the left here, or not power supply, a printer to the left here, and a printer to the right. Okay? And they're both going to be running off this power supply. Okay? Now, you may ask yourself why I bought this one versus some of the other ones that are definitely less expensive in the Cyber Pro line. Okay? Many pretty 3D printing farm operators get by with the smaller units that are about 800 watts. They're considerably less money, and they work fine for a lot of the smaller printers. But as I indicated earlier, one of the printers that's going to go here is an H2D, and its peak power draw is 1500 watts, like almost double what those smaller units can handle. It only does that for a short period of time during the bed warm-up, but it sort of drives their power supplies crazy. They'll hum and click and tick, and really they're overloading that unit at that point, right? Which can damage the unit itself. I don't know what impact it has on the printer, maybe nothing, okay? But I elected to go with one that could handle that larger printers out of the gate, right? And it'll not only do the one printer, but it'll do more. So this is 1540 watts peak for this unit, which is more than enough to handle the H2D line of printers. So that's about all I got for now. Alright guys, let's take a minute and just briefly talk about my plan for storage, right? I've already went over what my initial plan is for the filament that's coming in. The stuff that's still in boxes and stuff is going to be all up on top, as we talked about, showed you already. Now, I'm envisioning at some point over here on the right, up on top on the wall, I'm going to put in some rack storage for open spools. That'll come, you know, get the printers up, get them running, I'll be able to print the brackets and everything I need to create those, right? Now for smaller items, things like, well, in this case, tools, right? Things like that, tools, nuts and bolts for the printers, spare printer parts, label printers and supplies, cleaning supplies, stuff like that. They're all going to go in these style bins. I bought a number of these. And I've got a shelf over here to my left that looks like this. And that's where all that stuff is going to go. Now in these large white bins, this is where I'm going to store my inventory of products that I've made. As I'm producing product, I'll put it in these bins and keep it in here until it's either have an order that I got to ship out or building up inventory to send it to Amazon, you know, what have you. And these are all going to go on the lower rack down here to the right, like it shows here. Okay, so that's my plan for storage as of right now. It's going to be a moving target, but I don't have a lot of space, so I'm trying to pre-plan it, put as much thought into it in advance as I can. That's what I got for now. Let's move on. Print shack, as I call it, is set up. So this will conclude this video. In the next video, we're going to unbox the first printer, get it set up, and start printing. Finally, right? Thanks guys for staying with me. I appreciate that. And have a great day.